Good evening, good evening. We give God praise for this day the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. We are uber grateful for those who are joining us now on today. What we're calling Pastor Talks, a live discussion as relates to the COVID-19 pandemic, the vaccine, and how we in the Black community, our role that we need to play in taking the vaccine ourselves. And so as you are coming in on today, as you are joining us on today, we want you, if you would, to help us out to like and to share this video. If you would heart or like it, do a watch party with the persons who are connected to you, who are also part of your network. They can also take part in this great discussion on tonight. So again, tonight's discussion is going to be on COVID-19 and the Black community. Now, coming in, I want you just to drop your name in the chat, say good evening. Don't be a stranger. Don't just be a watcher, a viewer. Don't just be voyeuristic, but participate and have dialogue on tonight. So real quick, good evening to Camille. Good evening, I'm not saying Pastor Gwen Sargent. I'm promoting you, Sister Gwen. Good evening, Sister Gwen Sargent and others who are joining us on tonight. Again, talking about the vaccine as well as how it affects the Black community and our need to take the vaccine. And so I know that we have been talking in our silos. We've been having conversations on Zoom and on phone calls and with our own families about, should I take it? Will you take it? How do I get the vaccine? And tonight, we're going to have many of those answers, those questions answered for you on tonight. And so again, need you to help me out to share the light. That way we can go viral on tonight. We see many of you all who are coming in, and so we're grateful for your presence. I want to introduce our panel on tonight because I am not the subject matter expert. I am simply a pastor who has recently had COVID. And so knowing firsthand how this can affect your body and your health and why it's so important that if we want to get back to some sense of normalcy, if you want to get back to church, you want to get back to having parties and fellowship and fun, going to weddings, having funerals not in the grave at the cemetery, as well as just sending your kids to work, to school, so you can be at home by yourself or you going to work, so you can say, I'm tired of being socially distant. We need you to get the vaccine. And so that's what I'm going to be pushing tonight. But I want you to hear from some subject matter experts who are medical professionals, who are part of our community, who are doing great work. So you can hear from them. They can share with you tonight their convictions and their understanding about both the vaccine as well as COVID, and why, as people of color in particular, why it's so important that we not allow some of our fears, or as well as past trauma that is real, to stop us from getting the vaccine. And so I've been enough talking on tonight. Introduce our panelists on tonight. I'm going to start with Dr. Taylor and then going down to Sister Sophia as well as Sister Tammy. Dr. Taylor, why don't you introduce yourself today? Let people know who you are.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Randy Taylor. I'm an emergency physician, board certified. I am a native New Yorker. I grew up in Queens. I went to college at Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton. I went to Columbia University for medical school. I trained at Jacobi and Montefiore. So I'm a native New Yorker. Right now, I'm currently working at White Plains in the emergency department. I work nights. If you come there Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday night, you'll see me there in one of the zones. And I've also been fortunate enough to start a COVID-19 testing company. And I've been working with Pastor these last few months, doing some testing at the Star Bethlehem Church in the parking lot on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to sort of discuss my perspective as an emergency physician, as a doctor, and as a Black man in terms of the vaccine. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Dr. Taylor. Thank you for the work you've been doing already in our community, and we are continuing to pray for you and for all of our panelists who are frontline workers. Sister Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia Wirth. I'm a nurse practitioner with Open Door. I work in Ossining Middle School and Ossining High School. I've been a nurse practitioner for 9 years now, and I've been a nurse for 15 years. Can't believe it. So I live in Peekskill. I have 2 children, and I really believe in the science behind the vaccine. So we'll be talking about that in a little bit.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, and last but not least, Sister Tammy.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Tammy Carey. I'm a nurse practitioner also for Open Door. I work more in Portchester at the Park Elementary School, and also sometimes in Mamaroneck at the main clinic site and Portchester main clinic site. I've been a nurse practitioner for the last 2 years. Started my healthcare career as a respiratory therapist, and then went into nursing, and now nurse practitioner. So that's where I am.
Awesome. And so we've got some great medical professionals who are either part of White Plains Hospital, as well as the therapeutics, as well as Open Door, and those who live in Osney and in the Osney community. We definitely know the work that Open Door has done in our community. And so we're grateful for them on tonight. As we were having this discussion in our community about having a conversation about the vaccine, I've been wanting to do this since the beginning of the year. I thought it'd be very important that as a pastor of African American congregation, primarily African American, that we have a discussion with people of color about the vaccine, and also hearing from medical professionals who look and understand our biology, and understand not just our biology, but our culture as well, because we do realize that culture and history, all of this plays into how we feel about hospitals, doctors, COVID, pandemics, and the vaccine. And so I'm going to hear from them on tonight. If you have questions, I need you to put your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get to your questions at the end of our discussion on tonight. And so again, I'm asking that you would help us out and to like and to share this video so that others in your network, in our community, can be a part and hear and gain information, so that they prayerfully will make a sound decision. I'm going to propose and push they make a sound decision to do what? To sign up to get the vaccine as soon as they can. That's what we're pushing on tonight for me. But it's important that you get information for yourself so that you can make a decision for yourself and for your family, for your biology, in terms of would you or will you not get the vaccine. And so we're going to go ahead and let them begin on tonight. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint that's coming up now, and let them go from there. All right.
Okay, so I'll start off. We're going to just talk about the introduction. We want to share with you information about the COVID-19 vaccine. We're going to discuss some frequently asked questions, and then we'll offer time for you to ask some questions as well. The vaccines that are available, the 2 companies that have COVID-19 vaccines that are approved by the FDA for emergency use are the Moderna and Pfizer. The manufacturers are for the Moderna and the Pfizer, as I mentioned. They're both a messenger RNA vaccine. The number of shots for the Moderna is 2 shots, 28 days apart. The Pfizer is 2 shots, 21 days apart. They're given in the muscle of the right upper arm or left upper arm. It does not contain any eggs, preservatives, or latex. It reduces the risk of the COVID-19 infection by up to 94.1% for the Moderna and 95% for the Pfizer. I'll pass it over to Tammy.
Okay, so a lot of people think that messenger RNA, like this type of vaccine, is new, but it's not. Researchers have been studying this messenger RNA vaccines for decades. They've also used it in cancer research. Messenger RNA triggers the immune system that targets specific cancer cells in the cancer research. This also is used to protect against infectious diseases. So the messenger RNA triggers an immune response. It's a protein. It is not injecting you with COVID. It's injecting you with this protein that will stimulate your body to produce this immune response, and so that you can make antibodies or fighter cells against the virus should you become infected.
The vaccine testing and administration, 30,000 people participated in the Moderna vaccine trial. Half were given the real vaccine and half were given the placebo, which doesn't have anything in it. 1 participant in the vaccine group and 9 participants in the placebo group later contracted COVID-19 and were hospitalized.
In December, Moderna and Pfizer vaccines received multiple approvals for safety and use. Federal bodies also that oversee vaccines recommended their use, and New York State's advisory committee recommended their use. So it's approved on many levels.
Potential side effects with the vaccine, most people experience some local reactions such as pain at the injection site, especially after the second dose. Pain, swelling, redness at injection site was common, about 90.5% after the second dose. Most people experience some systemic reaction, most often fatigue, headache, especially after the second dose. Fever, fatigue, headache, and nausea were common for 81.9%, and 1% of the participants reported serious adverse reactions.
Okay. This slide just shows statistics as of January of 2021 that about 13 million people had received at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Among those in the white non-Hispanic, about 60% have received the vaccine. Hispanic Latinos, 11.5%. Black non-Hispanic, 5.4%. Asians, 6%, American Indians, non-Hispanic, Alaska Natives, 2%, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, non-Hispanic, 0.3%, and then those with multiple ethnicities, races, non-Hispanic, completed about 14%.
Now we're up to the frequently asked questions. And the reason that in the previous slide we had separated on ethnicity because we felt that it was important to show that it wasn't a vaccine that was just targeted just for African Americans. I know in the beginning when we were hearing information about the vaccine, it did cause a little bit of skepticism, even, you know, for myself making the decision to get the vaccine. That was something that I was looking into. So we just wanted to share that with you to show the percentage. Here, in terms of the frequently asked questions, one of the first questions that we commonly get, can I get COVID-19 from the vaccine? And like Tammy mentioned earlier, no, messenger RNA vaccines do not use any live virus. It doesn't use a weakened form of the virus. You're not getting anything live or weakened that is being put into your body. It's that protein, and from that protein, your body will make the immune response. The second question that we commonly get is how many shots do I get, which is what I had showed earlier. Depending on the vaccine that you're getting, it's going to be either the 3 or the 2 weeks apart. The next question that we commonly get is if I've had the COVID-19 infection, should I still get vaccinated? The answer is yes. The antibodies produced by the infection will not necessarily protect you from becoming reinfected. So I can explain that a little bit more. So if someone has a recent COVID-19 infection within the past 90 days, then I would not recommend getting the vaccine right now, but after the 90-day period, because the antibodies may not last. I've seen from my personal experience that they have lasted about 3 to 4 months. For some people, I've seen it last a little bit longer. But again, you know, it's hard to say when the antibodies leave your body, and that once they have left your body, then that can put you at risk for getting the COVID-19 infection again. And that is the reason that we recommend it, even if you've had the COVID-19 infection. The next question that we get is, do I still need to wear a mask after I get the vaccine? Now, yes, while the vaccine is effective in preventing you from getting sick, there is a chance that you can still spread the infection to others. So not that you yourself will have any symptoms because your body will make those antibodies. But again, if you were to have the COVID vaccine in your system, you were to catch COVID-19, again, you wouldn't get sick, but you could still pass that virus to others. So, you know, at this point, with what the science is showing us, we are still encouraging to wear a mask for that reason. Another question that we commonly get is, when will the pandemic end? And I wish this was the easy question.
No one knows.
I can't wait for this pandemic to end. But what we have here is that the pandemic will be controlled once we have herd immunity. And I'm sure that everyone has been hearing in the news about the 70%. Once we've had vaccination rate of greater than 70%, we will be able to achieve that herd immunity. This is when there's enough people immune to the disease that it can no longer spread easily. When vaccines are widely available, this is the best way to make people immune. Now, for my own personal experience with me working in the school systems, I've been able to look at people traditionally for other vaccines. For example, the varicella. If someone had gotten the varicella vaccine at some point in their life, and then years later, we were able to test their titers, we can see that they have antibodies. And this is one of the reasons that I do have faith in the vaccine, because I'm able to see that from the moment that you get the vaccine, it takes a couple of weeks. For example, from the time that I've completed my 2 doses of my COVID-19 vaccine, my body will develop antibodies in about 2 to 3 weeks afterward. So I've been able to see with some of the other vaccines that we've gotten through childhood that we do have see antibodies with that as well. The next commonly asked question that we get is, if I'm vegetarian vegan, does the vaccine contain any products from animal origin? And that answer is no. And like we had shared earlier, with there being no egg, no dairy products, nothing from an animal that is in the vaccine. And the last question that I have on here, and again, we have some other questions on the next page. Should I check with my doctor before getting the vaccine? Yes, you should check with your doctor if you've had any severe allergies that can cause an anaphylactic reaction. If you've ever need to use an EpiPen for severe allergies that you may have, then you may not, at this point, we may not recommend the vaccine for you. If you've had a recent fever, if you have any bleeding disorder, that you're on a blood thinner, if you're immunocompromised and you're on a medication that would weaken your immune system, if you're pregnant or you plan to become pregnant, and if you're breastfeeding. Again, being pregnant and breastfeeding does not necessarily exclude you from getting the COVID vaccine, but again, it's good to speak to your doctor. So we do have some more questions on the next page, the frequently asked questions. I'll pass it over to Tammy.
All right. Another question that we've heard is, how can I get the COVID-19 vaccine? So at this point, the state of New York, I believe, is signing up people that are 65 and older, and then people with certain medical conditions that are at a higher risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 infection. Also frontline workers, healthcare workers, essential workers, and teachers. And then so Open Door is expecting to receive new doses in the next coming weeks. And we are sending out messages to those patients that are 65 and older, who've had an appointment within the last year. Some of you may or may not have already received these messages. If you are a part of Open Door and you're in that age group, if you have not received a message yet, look for it. It should be coming. You can also sign up to, there's a link down there that says, am I eligible for COVID-19 vaccine? And fill in your information. It'll let you know if you are eligible to sign up. Also, there are some private doctors' offices and pharmacies and hospital administrators that are scheduling appointments for these vaccines as well. You can obtain more information by visiting the cdc.gov, Coronavirus 2019 INCO vaccines.
Those we just put in the chat, the actual Am I Eligible website. That way you yourself can, even while we're having dialogue, find out now if you're eligible for that.
All right.
Perfect.
And so I want to bring our panelists back on. We're going to take off the PowerPoint because we want to also be able to hear. There are many questions that we are seeing that are already coming in the chat now. Want to first thank you, Tammy and Sophia, for the information that you provided for us as relates to what actually is the vaccine. The two major companies now, of course, we're hearing others every day are still in trials, Johnson & Johnson and others, but we know for a fact that Moderna and Pfizer have been approved and are being disseminated, I guess is the better word, among the population. And so I'm gonna, Dr. Taylor, either you want to chime in and say before we go to Q&A, actually from those who are in the chat?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to give my sort of personal experience and perspective on the whole vaccine encounter, because I think I, like many people, have grown up in this country, and I've kind of seen and learned about certain histories, right? So we all know about Tuskegee. We all know about Dr. Sims, called the father of gynecology. He was doing experiments on, farmers from Alabama, right? He was doing experiments on slaves and not giving them pain medication. And he's actually described as being the master of OBGYN and describing many procedures we still use today. And when you think about how he became the master of OBGYN, it's kind of chills your bones. So obviously, we could talk about the lead in Flint, right? Many kids being exposed to lead, and in the medical community, they're not really stepping in sooner to sort of stop that. So there's a lot of reasons for there to be distrust in the community, and I totally understand that. And I think it even affected me, because I work in a COVID zone at least 2 or 3 times a week, where I'm working with patients that are dying from COVID. And I've been exposed, and I thought it was just strange for me to be hesitant to want to get the vaccine. I should be the one that wants to be the first in line. So I just want to acknowledge everybody's hesitancy. I think it's real. I think it's warranted. But the other side of that, I think, is that these vaccines work. Like the 2 nurse practitioners said, this research has been going on for decades. When the problem arose, it became crowdsourced, right? So all the top labs around the world started working on this. Everybody poured billions of dollars to get this sort of expedited. So I think it's something that you have to know that people have been working on to really get it out there fast. And I think the speed scared a few people, but there's a reason. I think, with technology that we have now, this is another reason why this became available so soon. And I always just I always think about a risk versus benefit. I'm an emergency physician, and anytime I choose to do something, I got to think about risk versus benefit, because something I do can really, either improve somebody's condition, or it can also worsen things. And when I think about all the people that I've seen come in with COVID, and especially with the disinformation that was out there that the COVID is just the flu or it's just a cold, and most people just get over it, and it's only older people with comorbidities that get sick. I can tell you, I've seen young people with no medical problems come in and unfortunately die. Okay, and it happens. And I've seen older people that were very healthy doing well, and unfortunately caught this and come in and have to die alone and talk to their their family members on an iPad in some of their last moments. So I just want to really emphasize, it's very important that this is a vaccine that works. This is not Tuskegee. This is not some of the past traumas that we suffered. And I actually think that it's really ironic and almost evil that we are afraid to get it, because it's the one thing that might prevent a lot of us from having tragedy in our families and ourselves. But the fear is understandable. I think we need to get over it. We need to push through it. We need to do your research. You need to listen to presentations like this. And then, I was one of the last ones in my group to get vaccinated. And I think that's because I did have some fear. But I had to push through it and say, you know what, I'm going to get my appointment. I got my first injection. The second day, I had a little bit of a headache. I felt a little bit tired. I took Tylenol. I woke up 3 hours later. I was fine. I got my second shot 21 days later. I had a little soreness in the left shoulder the first day. And after that, I've been completely fine. And I'm happy to say I'm vaccinated. And I call myself part of the 95% crew now. So I just want to encourage people to do your research, get your shot. The side effects are very rare in terms of severe side effects. These are people who tend to have bad allergies anyway. So a lot of these people know who they are. And even they can get it if the medical office or the medical facility prepares for the worst. If someone has a reaction, you can give epinephrine, you can give Benadryl. Anaphylaxis is dangerous, but it's treatable, and it's very rare. I think I saw one number that said, for these vaccines, 1 in a million. And when you think about penicillin, it's 1 in 500, and we all take penicillin. So it's just an important thing to please do your research. Please don't just write it off. And really, I think the last thing I'll say, because I'm getting kind of long-winded, is look who's lining up first for this. Look at what hospitals are getting it first. What communities have way higher numbers. We're seeing the typical disparity in medicine again. I saw something, I think, in the Post. You saw Long Island, Great Neck, all these certain communities, and the 25% vaccinated. And when you looked at East Flatbush, communities of color, you're looking at 2-3% vaccination at this point. We have to fix that. We have to close the disparity gap. And I think things like this is going to help that. We got to put the pressure to give the access to the vaccine. I'm glad Open Door has access to it. I know as a physician with a medical practice, I spoke to the Department of Health, and 2 times they told me call back in a month because they don't have supply, which I understand that. But I think, the fact that, physicians should be involved in having access to this vaccine. I saw it get rolled out to the corporations, the pharmacies, which on one hand, I understand there's pharmacies in every neighborhood. But on the other hand, I think physicians are going to advocate for their own patients. So they need to have this tool available to them. And hopefully that's going to happen over the next few days to weeks.
And so I want to say, so thank you, Taylor. And I want to say, as we start filling some questions that are already in the chat, and those who may have additional questions or comments, just so you all know, those who are viewing and watching, as your pastor, I was on a Zoom call with other clergy throughout our state, talking with our Attorney General just this past Monday, this week, President's Day, about the fact that need, not just for clergy to get it, but for, as you were talking about, the disparities that are in the Black community. You can watch on the news, you saw how they just opened up Yankee Stadium the other week and other things because of the fact that we see this. Now, this is critical. The reason why we're having this discussion is because we know whether it's COVID or other health disparities that Black and brown communities are already at a disadvantage. Whether it's because we don't have access to healthcare as we should, or we don't take advantage of the healthcare that we do have. That we don't take better care of our bodies, we don't eat properly, we don't regularly get checkups through our fear or concerns. But the truth of the matter is, COVID has ravaged the Black and brown community. And if we want life to get back to normal, I see many of you posting videos about church and videos of choirs and all that stuff and getting back to life as what life used to be. We have to get vaccinated. And so I want to begin to answer some questions that have been in the chat. Many of you have been very faithful with your questions, and so I want to go ahead and get going with that. Sister Nora Wilkerson, one who did already get vaccinated, she had her first shot already. The question she has is, how long is the vaccine effective? Is it like a one-time shot and that's it? Are we getting the shot every couple of years? How does it work?
Okay, I can try to answer that. So for right now, with it being, a recent vaccine that's rolled out, we're not sure. We're thinking that maybe it could be a yearly vaccine. I think it's definitely possible. It really depends that from everyone who's getting vaccinated right now. I know there was another question asking when antibodies can be tested. So normally antibodies for someone that's been exposed to the virus, normally that's going to be tested 21 days after. So I think it's going to be, not that we're going to rush 21 days after to maybe get antibodies checked after the vaccine, but just in general, to see if it's going to last by next year is still hard to say. So I think everyone should anticipate that it could definitely be, a vaccine that is going to be yearly. That's what I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah.
I saw some studies that kind of talked about the antibody levels kind of dropping off after about 6 months. And they particularly said in the elderly over 75, they saw sometimes the antibodies will plummet. And then the ages between 55 to 75, it would drop to like 50%. So, this is why everybody's still going to have to be very careful and kind of be patient with quote unquote ending the pandemic. Even when vaccinated, I think, like Sophia said, we're not sure what that time frame it is, but I know I've seen some preliminary studies saying that your antibodies level do start to decrease, and that's when they started talking about booster shots. And then the other thing we know, when you look at the flu, there's something called antigenic shifting, where viruses move around their proteins. So they get very smart, and then the vaccine that you give doesn't work as well. And that's why some years you have really bad flu seasons, and then other years you say, oh, wow, the flu is working very well. The flu vaccine is working very well. So, I mean, we'll see if COVID's going to do the same thing, but typically viruses do change. And they're actually just accidents that happen. This is why we're seeing these quote unquote variants, right? These mutants that talk about the UK variant, the South African variant. You know, a virus is a living organism just like us. And sometimes when we have accidents, that's how we get cancer, right? Or, you know, we have different illnesses that sort of develop autoimmune disease because some of the proteins get made incorrectly. This causes a different process in the body. And viruses do the same thing. Their proteins will shift. And then all of a sudden, it's beneficial to the virus, but terrible for us because our antibodies or our vaccines no longer as effective. So I think it's going to probably be a yearly vaccine.
So yearly vaccine.
I don't think anybody knows yet.
So yearly vaccine, and there's still the science is still being unearthed and discovered every day with this. I think it's critical to understand that the same way that we push vaccines for our children, we push vaccines for our families, that we become vigilant in this effort for our own health. And so if it's a yearly thing, in order to keep you safe and healthy, then we must do. There's another question that's been asked. Pastor Samuel Brown from Horak Ministries in Osney. Question he asks is that if there is a 1% adverse reaction in taking the vaccine, how will you know if you will or will not be in that 1%? Because there have been questions about the people's reaction. I know you all mentioned earlier that, you know, persons who have severe allergies may be at more risk. But can you share, because people are very concerned about, you know, if I take the vaccine, what reaction could I have?
Right. Most of the time when we administer a vaccine, especially for the first time, we have our patients wait at least 30 minutes. Most serious reactions to vaccines occur within those first 30 minutes. So after administering the vaccine, we have you sit and wait 15 to 30 to monitor you and make sure that nothing untoward is happening. So in that respect, you're being monitored after you get your initial dose.
And definitely, you know, if there's anything that you're feeling, you know, you could definitely reach out to your medical provider if there's something that you're feeling within a couple of hours. For me personally, when I received my first vaccine, I just had a little soreness to my arm. When I received the second vaccine, I started developing symptoms 12 hours later. I felt very cold, chills. I felt like my body was achy. I started getting like a little bit of a headache at the end, but that lasted within 24 hours. And to be honest with you, and for me personally, I felt that 24 hours of having those symptoms, as much of an inconvenience as it may be, is a lot better than me getting sick with the COVID virus itself. So that was kind of what helped me to cope with it. And normally I don't like to take medication if I don't have to. So I really was trying to deal without taking anything. The Tylenol that I was holding off on taking definitely helped me. But I think in terms of before I received my vaccines, I try to make sure I was as healthy. I try to make sure that I was consistent with my vitamins. I try to make sure that I was keeping my nutrition right, keep my stress levels down, just things that might affect my immune system. I wanted to make sure that my body was 100% ready, because at the end of the day, my body is going to look at the vaccine as something foreign. And that's why my body reacted in that way after the second vaccine. But again, it's that process of making the antibodies that your body's going to have those type of symptoms. So again, for me, I felt that, you know, it's okay. You know, we have so many people that have tested positive, that have had some mild, some severe symptoms, but still being away from your family, the risk of possibly being on a ventilator, and just being hospitalized, that was enough for me that I said, you know what, I have to, even though just like Dr. Taylor, I was one of the last in my group to get vaccinated, just because I was still nervous. I wanted to really do my research. I wanted to make sure that my body was going to be okay, that I wouldn't be the 1%. So I completely understand your fear in that. But when we look at the risk and benefits, definitely being able to get our lives back, well, to a new normal, to get our lives to a new normal, where we're able to do the things that we enjoy without having that fear, I think is going to be well worth some of the things that we might have to go through, that inconvenience to get to where we need to be.
And I'll say the personal testimony, many of you all who are watching online know that I was recently hospitalized with COVID-19. And like you were saying, Ms. Sophia, that if I could just do it for 24 hours versus a whole week at Phelps, I would switch up in a heartbeat. Had great health care. Thank God for those health officials at Phelps who took care of me. But the idea is this, guys. Yes, there may be some momentary side effects. My parents, who are in Missouri, who are in their late 60s and early 70s, have had now both shots as of today. And they had, as you were saying, Sophia, my dad had the initial chills, had a headache, as you all stated, took some aspirin, took a nap, and woke up and felt much better. And so we have to not be afraid or concerned. Let me say that. It's okay to be concerned. It's not okay to allow your fear of what I call fear, false evidence appearing real, to stop us as a community from taking advantage of what is available to us, so that we can, one, be healthy and begin to have some semblance of normalcy again. There are some questions that are here, not just about the vaccine, but also about access to the vaccine, because I know that many persons have said that when they go online, there are no appointments. And so can you all just share, if I'm going to Open Door, how does one get an appointment? How does one register? Because again, we have many in our community, particularly there's a digital divide. Everybody's not online. We've got seniors who don't know how to really navigate the internet and apply. And so if I was applying through Open Door, how would I get an appointment to potentially get the vaccine?
One recommendation that I make is that if you have an upcoming routine appointment with your primary medical provider, you can mention to them your interest in the COVID vaccine, so that when it does become available in the office, then they can try to put some type of notification for you to be notified. Like, I know we're still waiting for the vaccine to, I believe that I had gotten an email recently that there was another shipment that was going to be coming into the Open Door, but I have to double.
Yeah, we're supposed to get a shipment in a couple of weeks, I believe.
If I'm not mistaken. So, we know that the link that we had mentioned, there is a text message that you can sign yourself up with the Open Door. So I think if you're calling, maybe sending a message to your provider so that they can get you on that list, then at least you'll get a text message on the phone when the vaccine is available, and then getting the appointment scheduled. But I think for right now, I've been hearing from a lot of parents, even though I'm in the school system, I speak to a lot of parents. They have a lot of questions as well. They've been having some difficulty. So don't let that discourage you when it does become available. Just, make sure, like I said, if you're able to get some type of alerts, or just keep, checking on the websites. For anyone that doesn't have, access to the internet, then I think just making that phone call to your provider.
I think there also is, and I apologize because I don't know the exact link, but there's a Department of Health. If you go on the Department of Health website, there's a link on how to make an appointment online. And just the other night, I was working, and one of my colleagues said, "Hey, he knows my mother has rheumatoid arthritis, and she's on prednisone, and he knows I was trying to get her appointment." And I would say I would stay on that website, and maybe one of your younger family members that's always on their phone or on their computer should monitor it, because that night we went on and they had happened to open up a bunch of appointments at the Aqueduct Racetrack in Queens. And I was able to get an appointment for my mother March 16th. And I had no idea I was working. He just said, "Hey, Dr. Taylor, I know you're looking for an appointment for your mother. I'm already on here." And literally they have like a 15-minute wait time that you have to do. You have to have your insurance card and some of your information to put it in. But I was able to get an appointment. And then when we checked the next day, all of those appointments had been filled. So that tells you how quickly these appointments go. So you really have to kind of be active with it to kind of stay on the website and keep checking, you know, probably even maybe every hour or maybe every couple hours, because sometimes, a lot of times people will cancel too, because they'll get another appointment somewhere else. So things can open up on that website, and it's on the Department of Health.
So again, vigilance is important, guys. The same way that those who are parents you keep going back and forth to websites and stores to get your kids PS5s or other things. We've got to take this seriously. And so it's important that as a community, we work together. And so as it was said earlier, that if you have access to the internet and to the website, and you know other seniors, other persons who don't, then don't be selfish and only apply for yourself, but ask somebody else and see if you can assist them and help them so that we all get it together. There's been a comment that's been made, and I want to get clarity about it before I post it online. I know that there are pharmacies that are also receiving the vaccine. So the question, so people can go to their pharmacy. Can they go like the CVS, Walgreens, whether it's HealthSmart, in Austin or Hudson Pharmacy?
I think if they look online, they should be able. I received a link recently. I go to Walgreens and I received it. I was trying to look at my phone. I received a link recently. So I think checking with your local pharmacies, and also if they have a website online, they might have something online where you have to fill out certain questions to see if you fit criteria for the receiving the vaccine. So I think it is worth a try to go on that and fill out any necessary questions. Because I know a lot of the pharmacies are doing testing.
Yes.
So I believe that it is going to transition and they'll be giving vaccinations around those same websites. You know, hopefully as time goes, there'll be a link there if you don't see one already. But I did receive something recently from Walgreens that then I see here Nancy has been posting about the pharmacy in Croton, and I saw some other things that are popping up.
Yeah. So again, many of you are posting in the chat other pharmacies that are taking appointments, and so we appreciate you all sharing the information. Again, want to make sure we double check and make sure everything is correct with that. It's important again to get the vaccine. I cannot stress enough the need for that. There's a question that someone has. I think you all answered it earlier, but I'm not going to answer it because I'm not a subject matter expert. I'm one of the subjects. So question is, Pearl Peterson, she wants to know how long after the virus can you take the vaccine? Because I know when I left the hospital, they told me that I had to wait a little while. And so is there an approximate time? I think you all said 90 days.
90 days. 90 days.
So if you have recently been infected, and preferably you are now COVID-free, you've been tested and you have finished your quarantine, that you have to wait at least 90 days. And then, of course, we have to be part of the list of eligibility. So in terms of work, age, health, also working in certain areas of industry, whether it's grocery store workers now, educators, of course, medical professionals, frontline workers, those who work in nursing homes, you're on the list. Those who work in funeral homes, you're on the list. And so we want to make sure that we have the right information. And this is something we have to be vigilant. I promise you all, those who are affected to Star Bethlehem Church, that by the end of, I'm going to say by Tuesday of next week on our website, we will have more updated information and links where you can go to apply and get information for that. So it's so critical that as a community, we are educating ourselves and are helping to spread information. Y'all know your pastor. We've already started to be a pop-up center. So as soon as the vaccine is available and they call Star Bethlehem, we're going to open up the parking lot. Dr. Taylor, we're going to have you on one side. We're going to have the vaccine on the other side.
That's great.
Fellowship all open. Y'all, some of y'all have been in church in months. Y'all going to be able to come to the church and get your vaccine inside the building. We'll let you inside for that. And so it's critical. It's critical. Now I want to say this. Even as the vaccine is out, and we're grateful that right now, to be in New York, that our numbers have gone down. We have to remain vigilant. We cannot act like, because people have the vaccine now, some people do, that COVID is over. It is still here. It is still real.
I want to say two things in regards to that. Number one, Ossining has been the highest positivity site I've been at. And we've been testing in Brooklyn, in Harlem, in Peekskill. When we test in Somers, we actually have a brick and mortar in Somers. And the Ossining site has the highest number of positive cases. So I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I just say that in order to be vigilant. And the other thing I would say is, wear the mask. And I would say stay away from the cloth mask or the T-shirt. I think in the beginning they sort of discouraged everybody getting an N95 or everybody getting a KN95, but the stockpiles are pretty replenished at this point. And I think proof of the fact that the masks work is if you look at this year's flu season. I have not seen one case of flu since I've been working this season, not one case.
Wow.
And I think that speaks to the powerfulness of the mask. It really works. A lot of people poo-pooed it in the beginning. Oh, it doesn't make it. It's very important. It works. My own son plays basketball, and one of his colleagues had it, but I yelled at him. I said, you have to wear the mask on the way to practice. You have to wear the mask during practice. He was very upset, but he ended up not getting it, even though he was exposed because he had his mask on the whole time. Mm-hmm. So masks work. And now people at the hospital were looking at me like I was crazy because I was double masking from the beginning.
I was going to ask about the
Yes, I was double masking because the material from the N95 irritated my face. So I would put a surgical mask actually under it, the N95 over that, and then I would put a surgical mask over the top so I could use my N95 again. And people thought I was the alien, but I think you want to make sure all the open holes are covered, right? So the virus can't get into your nose, the virus can't get into your mouth. If you're close to other people, you might even want to wear face shields because you don't want it to get into your eyes. And that's what we do at the hospital. So, sometimes you have to kind of gather and you try not to, but if you're going to, you make sure you use everything to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I went out today and go ahead, Sophia, I'm sorry.
For the N95 mask, we get fit tested so that it has a good seal. So you have to remember these KN95 masks that we're getting, me personally, from Amazon or anyone who's getting it from anywhere, they're not fit tested. So you want to make sure that it has a good seal, at least fits comfortably. So definitely if you're getting it and you feel like there's some leaks on the side, then wearing the two masks is going to be a good idea for that. And then just like Dr. Taylor said, even for us in the office, when I'm seeing the students over in the Osney Middle School and the high school, I call them my truck goggles. I have to wear my truck goggles. I got to wear my mask because it can pass from when someone that has the virus and they're talking, that saliva can get into your eyes, or that is just still suspended in the air, with everyone's best efforts. Some people that feel that they've done all the right things and then they get sick right at the very end. We've been dealing with this virus for a year now. So, we got to continue to do everything that we've been doing this whole time. And I feel like that's when everyone's getting tired of continuing the precautions. That's when, we're getting more susceptible to the virus. So, keep it going, but just so that you guys understand about the KN95 so that you're using it properly.
So again, wear your mask. Even if you double mask, that is fine. Even encouraged. That way, you are you are making sure that you are even more vigilant with your own health. Today I had a face shield on. I had a face shield and a mask on. People were looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, you don't know my story, and so
you don't know what I've been through, right?
So as a result, that was fine. I went to go visit a pastor friend of mine. And I'm in his house with my face shield on. Like, yeah, I can talk to you, but I'm not taking his face shield off because of what I have gone through myself. And so it's critical that we're vigilant. Again, this has been a worthwhile conversation. We're just about to wrap up in a moment. Want to make sure that persons, again, have heard the information about the vaccine. It is out. It is safe, whether it's Moderna or Pfizer. Let me ask a question, because there's been questions asked about which vaccine, Moderna or Pfizer. Is there a preference? I know that there are different companies, but in terms of, would you suggest that whichever one they can get, they get, or how does that work?
I personally got the Moderna just because the way that it has to be handled, it can be used, it can be stored in the refrigerators that we have, and the open door doesn't need like anything special. So I personally got the Moderna, which is 94% effective versus the Pfizer, which is 95%. So, it just depends on if you're able to get the vaccine. I feel the 1% difference, I know some of my colleagues and friends that they've gotten at the hospital, they've been able to get the Pfizer, but I feel pretty good with the Moderna so far. So it just really depends. With the 1%,
still way better than 0.
Yeah, I'd say get whatever you can get. It's funny, like initially I was able to get the Pfizer, and I wanted the Pfizer actually because it was made outside the United States, and in the political climate that they both had been made, I just wanted to, I knew Pfizer was being made in Germany, and with some of the statistic games that was played in Georgia and Florida, I just had more trust in the Pfizer. But they're both great vaccines, and I think I've had friends who've had both, and again, side effects, fever, headache, fatigue, they're tolerable. And I think one thing I should bring up too, because I always keep talking about, is you don't want to get COVID-19 if you don't have to. If you get it, obviously, hopefully you're going to get it and recover. But also remember, there's also some people that are we call the long haulers, right? They're having symptoms that are persisting on, and we're talking about brain fog, and we're talking about joint pain. We're talking about myocarditis, inflammation in the heart itself. So, again, this is something that you don't want to get. We talked about the severe, I think I wanted to bring up with the severe adverse reaction. If you've had anaphylaxis before, obviously that's one of the things that the CDC says you should have some precautions with. And the chemical that sometimes people have problems with is something called polyethylene glycol. They use that in other vaccines too, and that's what they kind of use to help get the mRNA into the cell. So if you know that you've had a reaction before to the vaccine, you should try to research, does it have polyethylene glycol in it? Because that might be one of the risk factors for having a bad reaction.
Okay.
And with that, you might still even talk to an allergist and maybe get desensitized, because that's how important getting this vaccine is. You really want to try to get it if you can.
I'll say that because you all said earlier, I think it's critical that as you are applying and going online, registering yourself, that you talk to your PCP, talk to your primary care physician. If you don't have one, then I'm sure that those at Open Door, while they're doing this today, they're available. You can go to the website. Information is out there. It is critical. There's a couple questions that are still being asked. I think it's important. One question that's asked about the mask that was asked earlier. Wanda Powell, one of our faithful members, the question she had was, should you change your N95 mask daily, or can it be used more than once?
Yes, it could be used more than once, but I think if there's like any moisture, anything that is like affecting the integrity, if something rips off or something doesn't seem to be intact, although it can be harder to wear the two masks, like depending in certain situations, I don't always wear 2 masks. And then in other situations I do. It depends on how close in proximity I'm going to be. Like if I'm going to be around a lot of people, then I do wear the 2 masks. But if you're wearing the surgical mask and you feel comfortable wearing the N95 mask on top of it, it will last longer. So at least that's something, it's going to keep it more drier. So that's something that might give it a little bit more use into it. But again, you got to make sure that you can breathe comfortably. It's important too, that you feel that you can wear it comfortably without having to every 5 seconds pull it down.
If you need a mask, we have masks still available through the Star Bethlehem Baptist Church that are free of charge through the Department of Health, through the state. They come in packs of 5. So when you get it, you don't just get 1 mask, you get 5 masks that are reusable or even washable. We want to make sure that you have no reason to be walking around outside, going to work, going to the grocery store without a mask. And so we want to make sure that we're providing that. If you know people who need a mask, send them to the church, have them give us a call. We'll make sure we'll have those masks available for them. There's another question that's been asked, and a great question. So to Nancy, again, her question is, should persons who have respiratory or heart problems get the vaccine?
Especially those persons. Absolutely should get the vaccine.
Yes.
So don't think because you have an issue, a medical issue, it's not for you. It is definitely for you.
Yeah.
So respiratory issues, because I can speak to the fact that personally that COVID does affect your lungs. That's why I'm not preaching the whole month of February, maybe beginning of March, because my lungs were severely damaged as a result of COVID. I even have a lingering cough. I thank God I was never on a respirator, but I did get oxygen. I even have an oxygen tank at my house. I don't use it like I probably should. Don't tell my doctor that. But the idea of the fact of the matter is that it does affect. And so we want to make sure that you have what you need. It is so critical. 65 and older, already eligible. Those who have some severe medical concerns, I think even pregnancy now is a part of the list. They can go ahead and get the vaccine. And so regardless of your age there, we're going to post information on our church website by Tuesday with more information for you to have and to share and disseminate. There are vaccine sites in Westchester, in Ossining, that are available. Open Door is providing vaccines when they're available. Now, people have been always asking, why don't they have enough all the time? The idea is simply this, that one person gets 2 doses. And so even if you say you have 500 vaccines, it's really 250 persons that get the vaccine, because you have to get the vaccine twice within the 21 days or 14 days, depending on the vaccine itself. And so this is a marathon, not a sprint. If you don't first get in, as Dr. Taylor said, others have said, Tammy and Sophia have said, please make sure that you go back to the website. I need our members and our community to support our seniors, support others who are in need with this, help them. If they don't have access to the internet, volunteer to help them, walk them through that. So it is critical with that. When STAR can become a vaccine site, believe me, whether it's Open Door or anybody else, everybody has STAR's number. We will open up everything to provide that when we can. And I know there are other churches that have already done so, and so we're on the list. We are right at our time on tonight. I think our time has been used very wisely on tonight. I want to thank our panelists, Tammy Carey, Sophia Wirth, and Dr. Randy Taylor. Our nurse practitioners are from Open Door. Randy Taylor, who is a emergency doctor resident at White Plains, as well as he has been the one who has been doing the testing with his group at STAR since December. And so we are grateful to God for you all's presence on tonight on our panel. Thank you for the time in which you have taken out information that has been shared. For those who are watching online, those who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, again, thank you so much. This video will be available for viewership after the fact. So if you know somebody that could not watch it tonight live, please encourage them to go to our website, go to our Facebook or our YouTube pages so they can watch this video, get the information. It's critical. Again, wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands.
Yeah.
Socially distanced.
Stay socially distant.
Yes.
Not spiritually distant.
Get vaccinated.
Still pray for folk, but pray at a distance right now. But times will get better. God is still on the throne. He has brought us through. We have had a rough year. But the fact that you're able to watch this online means that you're a survivor. You have made it, and that God has graced you. I'm going to pray, if I can, for these health professionals who are on the front lines, who are doing amazing work, keeping whether it's our children or our community safe. We thank God for them, and we thank God that we've got folk who look like us, who are doing this work and who are a part of, who are on the ground floor, getting the information to us as well as saving lives. They literally are heroes who are doing this work. And so we thank God for them. Let's pray real quick. God, we thank you, we praise you, God, for our panelists. We thank you for you keeping them healthy and safe. We thank you for the knowledge and the years they've gone to school to practice medicine and to support and to provide healing for those in our community. Bless them in the work that they do. Continue to keep them healthy and safe, their families as well. Those who are watching on today, bless them and their homes and their health. We pray, God, that as we continue to have the vaccine roll out, that those who are in need, those who will get it, that we will not allow fear or rumors or misinformation to stop us from getting what we deserve so that we can have some semblance of normalcy to return back to fellowship, to worship, to gathering for large gathering events, but being safe at that time. But until that time happens, continue to keep us safe, help us to be vigilant and smart and wise in our decisions. We thank you for tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing. You all be blessed. And for those who remember the Star, we have our tribal conversation on Saturday at 4 p.m. And then Sunday morning, we've got worship. My big sister, Pastor Tamika Giroux, who preached for us a couple of years ago for Women's Day, will be our preacher. We also are celebrating our historically Black colleges and universities and our Greek sororities and fraternities on this Sunday. So if you're Greek, if you went to HBCU, wear your paraphernalia, take a picture of it so we can support each other. And of course, as a Catholic, we always going to throw up the yo and support all our fraternities. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Be blessed.
Thank you. Good night.